Hi, and welcome to a little video recap of the books I've read so far in 2024. So hot outside, and I closed the door because people outside were being loud for like interrupting me, which is just like so rude. So far I've read 12 books. My goal that I have on Goodreads is 30. Most of the books that I read are up here. I have the physical versions. Some of them, for some reason, I don't have the physical copy. I don't know why. I don't know if they disappeared or if one of them I know someone else is reading. But besides that, I don't know why I don't have them. But that's okay. I'm like sweating. I need the fan on. I was doing my makeup before this. I got a new mascara, L'Oreal mascara. What is it? Lash Paradise. I used to use this. Absolutely loved it. This time, tell me why I put it on my eye. It's like goopy and thick, and it makes my eye like so. I don't know if it's a new. I don't know if it's because it's a new tube or what, but it drove me absolutely bonkers. I literally spent like 20 minutes just trying to fix one eye. I'm a little dramatic, but anyways, the first book I'm going to talk about was Just for the Summer. This is by Abby Jimenez, and I'm going to be so for real with you. I can get to the end of a book and not know the names of the main characters. Like, I forget things so quickly that it's concerning, but just like a warning, because I might not know the details of these books, and that's okay. Basically, this book was about this guy and this girl, and they both have like terrible luck dating, and every time they date someone, like the next person that person goes on to date, if that makes sense, is like their soulmate. So people always find their soulmates after they date these two people, and they like start talking to each other because of this, randomly. And the premise seems kind of weird, but I promise you it's really good. It's just like their connection, and they decide like, oh, we're gonna date each other because then obviously it'll cancel out the curses. Duh. So that's what they do, and it's about that, and there's like so much more to it. There's like family, kind of like family, toxic family stuff. There's like some, is there? It's like, it's very summery. They go on these cute dates, like cute summer dates. It's just, I love it. I give it 5 stars. It's the first book of hers that I read, and I gave it 5 stars. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is Book Lovers, because for some reason I think that's the only other one that I don't have the physical copy of. Book Lovers, I read. This was the 4th Emily Henry book I read, but the first I read like a month before. I read her first book. The first book I read, not her first book, the first book I read of hers was Funny Story, which is her newest one, and I loved it so much that I read 4 of her books in a month. Anyways, Book Lovers was the most recent one I read, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I honestly think it was because I was listening to it and not like reading the physical copy that I just kind of wasn't fully in it, but it was still really good. I don't know why I'm saying that because I still gave it 4 stars, but it's about like these two people who meet at one point and like on a work lunch, and then they have like a bad interaction, and then they meet years later again, and it's kind of just them getting to know each other like for real, because when they first met each other it was a bad encounter, and like you kind of find out why. And yeah, about these two characters. See, I could not have told you that the 2 main characters are Nora and Charlie. No way would I have guessed that. No way. You could have given me a multiple choice question. Nope. Lost cause. Lost cause. Okay, wait. There is one other. Oh, yeah, and I give that a 4 stars. I'm not good at this book review thing. Another book that I read that I don't have the physical copy of is what's going on? A Not So Meet Cute. This is by Megan Quinn, and it's the first book in a series. I'm gonna be so for real, like, I really like this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The premise was just so funny. Like, I just thought it was so creative. And I feel like a lot of the times the books that I end up liking are the ones that like I would read the description for and maybe be like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it, and then I end up loving it. But yeah, it's basically about these two people, and it's like fake dating, but I think it's more for some reason she like gets in this fake relationship with this guy. They like bump into each other on the street and she needs to be in a relationship. Why does she need to be in a relationship? Oh, because I think she started telling her family that she was in a relationship. So she needs this guy to pretend that she's in a relationship. He needs a girl to pretend he's in a relationship with because there's this guy he's working with. It's all coming back to me. There's this guy he wants to work with, but he needs to be more like relatable. So I think he ends up saying he has a fiance. That's what it is. They're engaged, I think, or like fake engaged. And so yeah, it's how that plays out. And he has like a lot of money. She does not. And yeah, I really like it. It was funny. Like I thought it was funny. I liked the characters. I thought it was really good. I don't know why I didn't rate it a 5 stars. I think it's just because it was like, it wasn't anything that like blew me away. Personally for me, just to get a sense, the books that I like have like, I hate to say it, but they have some depth and like soul crushingness in it. Not even like the full story. Like I don't need a sad story. I don't want to read a sad story. I want a happy ending. I want good stuff, but I want it to have to get there. You know what I mean? Like I don't want it to be happy all the way. Not that this book was necessarily, but it was a little bit lighter and like, I'm like contradicting myself. But like another book that I read is Binding 13. And if you've read that, you know that that's like intense. And I loved that. So like that's something that I would rate a 5 stars. Spoiler alert, I did rate it a 5 stars. But that's something that I would rate a 5 stars. Like if it has some emotional depth to it, that's what it is. If it has some emotional depth to it, that's usually what I give a 5 star. Yeah. Then I'll start moving on to the books that I actually have the physical copies of. We're just gonna go from this one on. So the first book, this is actually the first book I read of Emily Henry. Funny story. Absolutely adored this book. I love this book. The premise is basically, let me look at the names. Yep. Daphne and what's his name? Max. Miles. That's close. I got the M. So this is Daphne, Miles. Daphne was engaged. Or maybe she might have been married. Frick me. No, engaged. Daphne was engaged to this man named Peter. Miles was engaged or dating I think, this girl named Petra. Petra and Peter, they're significant others. Petra and Peter have like been best friends for a long time. And like during his bachelorette party, this isn't a spoiler, I think it literally says this on like in the cover. They get together. And so he cheats on his fiance, Daphne. She cheats on her boyfriend, Miles. And so Daphne now has to move out of the house because she's leaving this guy. And she doesn't have a lot of money. And so she ends up I don't know how this ends up playing out. But she ends up talking to Miles and moving in with Miles. Because he now has extra room. He needs someone to cover some of his rent because Petra, who cheated on him, moved out to be with her ex-fiance. And so they start living together. And then they just start like, it's not even like, that's not even a big part of, like, that's how it starts. That's not even like how the book goes. That's how it starts. And I love that he's wearing Crocs on the cover. Like, tell me that's not the funniest thing ever. Then it's just them like getting to know each other. She's like, he like starts taking her to all these places around the city because she hasn't really like built her own life, I don't think. Like she hasn't made friends and like all this stuff. Like he kind of introduces her to the place that they're living and like takes her on these excursions and shows her around. And it's just wonderful, like wonderful. This is my favorite book I have read of hers as well. So really good books that came out in 2024. Emily Henry and Abby Jimenez, 5 stars. My favorite books that I've read of each of them. We're gonna do these two together. And I'm gonna be so honest, I don't really remember these books. These are Sarah Adams. When in Rome is the first one, and then Practice Makes Perfect. They like go together, some of the characters, but I think you could read them like as standalone books. But basically it's like a small town. This girl is famous, she's a pop star, and she runs away and she goes to the small town where he is owns a bakery, I think. And then they basically connect. This book I thought was really good. Again, it didn't have like the most emotional depth to me, It also, just like for context, they're, I think, what's called closed door romances, so there's nothing like spicy in them at all. And here's the thing with me. If a book is purely just spicy stuff to have it in the book, I don't like it. But I also feel like it can be used to add a lot of like depth to the relationship, if that makes sense. So that's not why these weren't 5 stars, but it's just like part of the reason why they're not 5 stars is because I didn't fully feel like an intense connection. And I don't think that really would have changed it, but I just wanted to say that because some people do like reading her books because they're like closed door romances, so thought I would say that. But this one I gave a 4 star. It was the first one of the 2. This is the next one, and I thought I was gonna like this one better, actually. I gave it a 3 stars. I gave it 3 stars, I think, because I just wasn't that invested. I didn't really care, I think. This one's about like a girl who, like, she hasn't really dated that much. Everyone thinks of her as like little Annie, like she's this little sweet girl, and then she doesn't have like that much experience with dating. So this guy, Will, sorry, I don't know who Noah's the one in this book. Will, this man's right here with the tats, he ends up like tutoring her in like relationships. I don't freaking know. Yeah, that's that. Beach read. This is by Emily Henry. Loved this book. This is about Augustus Everett and January Andrews. And do you like the one tab I have in here? I don't know why. I don't know if you can even see that. I don't know why I have one tab in here. I think I just forgot. I don't know. But this book is about 2 authors. They meet at like, he lives at this beach house and she's staying in the place next door for the summer, I think. Yeah, they have neighboring beach houses and they're both like having writer's block, so they end up switching genres, and they're like, oh, we're gonna read each other's genres, and he's gonna introduce her to, what does he write? He just writes like American fiction. Wait, it says great American novel. Wait, yeah. So he just writes like fiction, and she writes romance. So she's like, oh, I'll take you on these romantic like excursions so that you can get this, and then he's going to take her on excursions so that she can get an idea of his genre. I really loved this. Their connection's insane in this book, and I loved him as a character. I thought he was amazing. The ending was the ending for a reason, and it wasn't a bad ending. I don't want to spoil it. It wasn't a bad ending. It wasn't like sad or anything. It was a good ending. It just was a little anticlimactic for me. That's all I'm gonna say. Next 2 we're gonna talk about, my camera might die, which would be bad, but we might have to switch to my phone, so I apologize in advance. Next books we have are Binding 13 and Keeping 13. These are the most recent books I read, and I'm absolutely obsessed. These are so good. These are about Johnny and freaking, I can't even remember her name. What's her name? Shannon. Johnny and Shannon. These are, they don't even look that big. They're like 600 pages because the pages are so thin. They have so much writing on them, but they're so good. They're so good. And there's 5 books in the series right now. They're young adult, but they're not young adult. They're not young adult. They're about young adults, but they're not young adult. I don't know why they're labeled as that. But yeah, they're basically about this girl, Shannon. She's had kind of like a traumatic upbringing. Not kind of, she's had a very traumatic upbringing. And basically she meets this guy named Johnny at this new school she's going to, and he kind of gets to know her. He gets to know her family and what she's gone through and her horrific situation at home, and they just connect, and she kind of finds peace and comfort in his family. And so you kind of just see that play out. I don't want to spoil because I went into it not knowing anything besides it was like a sports romance, but there's not a ton of sports in it. He's just like a rugby player. FYI, I listened to the audiobook for part of it. The audiobook has Irish accents, and I listened to it so fast. In the beginning, I was like, I could not understand what they were saying. Regardless, such good books. Would recommend buying and reading. Very good. Ignore my pile of books. Next book I read was We Ship It by Lauren Kay. Such a random book. It's about this girl who goes like with her family on a cruise ship, and it's just so good. Like, I don't remember even details of it, but I gave this a 4 stars. What did I just, oh, Binding 13 I gave 4 stars, Keeping 13 I gave 5 stars, because Binding was kind of just like building up. And I don't know, there were some things that, I don't know, I loved it. But I just like, Keeping 13 just hit harder, I think. That they're both probably low-key 5 stars, but because I loved the second one so much, I feel like I have to give the first one 4. And not 5, if that makes sense. What is going on with my, okay. We Ship It. It's a little cute young adult book. And it's about this girl who goes on a cruise ship with her family, and she ends up meeting this guy named Sebastian. And they just kind of get to know each other. And they talk about like family hardships. Like, it goes into a lot of different topics and covers a lot of different topics. I think it talks about mental health, and I was just like so surprised. I'd never heard anything about this, and I loved it. So good. I gave it 4 stars, I think. Ignore my pile right here. I'm not the most organized girl. My sincerest apologies for the downgrading quality, but I just have a few more books to finish out. Next book was I reread The Summer I Turned Pretty. I think I actually have, yeah, I actually have 2 copies. But I reread The Summer I Turned Pretty. And I think I gave this book 3 stars. Not because I don't like it. I really like it, and it's just such good beach vibes. But there's not a lot of depth to it at all. And it's just definitely young adult. And I love young adult, but like some of the other books that I had been reading were a little bit more like emotional, deep. And so reading these, I was just kind of like, oh, it's so good, it's so cute, it's so fun, but like, it's not mind-blowing, if that makes sense. But I think you probably all know what these are about. Team Conrad. That's all I'm gonna say. These are actually the first 2 books that I read this year from the Addicted series, and I really need to finish this series. I really need to finish this series. I'm not, and I need to. This is basically about these 2, the series goes on to talk about the other people in the friend group, but it starts with these 2 books. I think actually the first 3 are about this couple. And it's Lily and Lo, and this one got wet. Ew. Look at it. That's so sad. Anyways, it's Lily and Lo, and they both have their own addictions. And basically, they come together. They've always been friends, I'm pretty sure, and roommates. Yeah, best friends, roommates, but they end up like getting to know each other and their addictions more, and like connecting and trying to like help each other through it. That's what this one's about. And we get to meet like their whole friend group, relatives. Like it's so good, and it's so like, oh my gosh, crazy. I think the only reason I gave this one 4 stars, the reason I give this 4 stars is just because it got a little like intense sometimes. Next one, Ricochet. Also, both of these are by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Next one was Ricochet. I gave this one a 5 stars. Look at the size difference. Like, it's so tiny. It's so tiny. It's such a small book, but it's 286 pages. I gave this one 5 stars. Reading the back of this one, I was like, I'm gonna hate this. A little bit of a spoiler alert, but not really. They're both getting help for their addictions in this book, so they're separated. But they're like in contact, if that makes sense. They're like not physically together, but they're in contact. And I was like, that's gonna be boring. Like, we don't even get to see them interact. What do you mean? Literally, this is what I wrote on the last page. And I haven't done this on any book since, but I wrote like the day I finished it, which was in January. 5 stars. Obsessed. What can I say? It was so good. It was so good. I feel like the fact that it's about a couple. The couple isn't together in the book, but I still loved it this much is crazy. It's crazy because I thought I was going to hate it for that exact reason. But no, it like showed their connection was so strong, and it showed them like getting through things together. It was beautiful. I loved it. 5 out of 5. So good. Okay, two more. This one I'm so proud of my little tabbing, because this book, Abby Jimenez, I don't know if it's all of her books, but the two that I have read do have dual point of view, which I love. I love. This one is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. This is about this girl named Alexis who's an ER doctor, and she ends up one night driving home, like something happens to her car. She almost runs over like a raccoon or something. And this guy named Daniel comes to help her, or like pulls over to help her. And they end up seeing each other in a like a bar or a restaurant in the town that they were right next to when she got pulled over. And she was on her way back home, which is still like a bit of a drive away, like a couple hours away, I think. But the place where they meet at the restaurant, or they see each other, is where he lives. So they kind of start to get to know each other. He's like this, how do they even describe him? She has like super wealthy parents who have such high standards. They're so just like disrespectful, so rude. Daniel is a carpenter, 10 years younger than her, which I just don't pay attention to because I'm not a fan of that. That's like a lot for me. But they're like older, so it's like it doesn't really matter. But it's still weird. Like that's unnecessary in my opinion. But anyways, he like lives on this ranch and he has animals, and she's wearing like a designer dress, and they connect and they have a deep connection. I gave this book a 3 stars. I don't know if I should say a 3 stars or if I gave this book 3 stars, or I gave this book a 3 stars. Anyways, really good book. I love her writing. It was just like the story in particular that I didn't love. I loved the characters. I loved the romance part. There was a part that was like almost kind of supernatural, like just sprinkled in a tiny bit. And I just was not a fan. That didn't knock it down to from a 5 to a 3, but I just like, it was that. And then it was also just like the story itself. I don't know. I didn't get as invested to these characters as I did her previous book that I had read, which is her newest one, Just for the Summer. So yeah, 3 stars, but I still loved it. Like, I'm glad I read it. And look at my tabbing. So it has dual point of view. So it goes back and forth between the guy and the girl. I don't know why it's so dark. But anyways, I used the dark blue for her because dark blue for her, light blue for him. And then when I ran out of those colors, I used orange for him because he's wearing orange, and yellow for her because she's wearing yellow. Isn't that so fun? So cute. Yeah. Okay, last book I'm going to talk about, People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This book, very good. I love her. I just love her writing. I really do. I just love her writing. I feel like Abby Jimenez maybe has like more depth to her characters possibly, but I feel like Emily Henry's stories are just more complex. I don't know. But this is about Poppy and Alex. They were like best friends, and they used to go on vacation with each other like every year because she works for this like magazine that would like send her on like location, different places. And so then we find out that like for the past 2 years, like they haven't gone on a trip together because something happened. And then randomly she texts him and she's like, we should do a trip this summer. So obviously they do the trip. It goes back and forth between like present time and like years ago. I do like that it started. So it's like this summer and then 12 summers ago, 9 summers ago, 8 summers ago. So it shows like all of their trips throughout the years, which I thought that was clever. But personally, I don't love like back and forth timelines. I don't know why. I think it's just because like I get invested in one timeline and then it goes back and I'm like, wait, I'm not ready for that. And then I get invested in that one and then it goes back. So I'm just like, too much. Like I just want to, one. I get too invested and then it switches up and I can't handle it. So that's this. I gave this 4 stars. I don't know why I keep like hitting it. I'm sorry if that's annoying. I also keep looking at myself and on the camera. Anyways, as the chapters go on, it counts down from like 12 summers up until like present. And then we find out like what happened, where they stand, and this trip that they end up going on, like she's trying to make it wonderful so that he forgives her, or like she can find out what happened, or I don't know if she knows. I think she does know. I don't freaking know. I don't remember. But basically she's trying to make it perfect so that she can like have a good memory, and that he wants to keep doing this and rebuild their friendship again. But this trip is anything but perfect. Or it's super hot where they travel to. I think it's Palm Springs. Their AC in their hotel room like breaks. It's chaos, but it's good. And I gave it a 4 stars, I think, because of the alternating timelines. It's just like something I just like wasn't feeling it. But yeah, I really did like this book. Would recommend. And those are the books that I read this year so far. So I read 15, my goal's 30. It's July, halfway through July. So hopefully I'll get to my goal. I think I will. Because especially like Binding 13, that series, I've been on. For some reason, it always seems like I read the first 2 books of a series and then don't continue. Wait, that's such a trend. Wait, that's such a trend. What am I doing? I read the first 2 books in the Off-Campus series, then stopped. It's been like a couple years. I read the first 2 books in the Addicted series, stopped. It's been months. Read the first 2 books in the Binding series, and now I'm taking a break. Weird, because I love all those series. So I need to commit. And finish. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. If I should do more book videos, let me know. I hope that I remembered enough to give you some details that you could kind of wrap your head around. I'm not the best explainer either. There's a lot that goes on up here, and sometimes it's hard to like form it into words and sentences. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And my dad's getting home. That's not my dad. Bruno, why are you excited? That's not dad. I'm so sorry to break it to you. Not my father. Whatsoever. Anyways. Toodaloo. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me ramble. That was fun. Bye!
Talk to me now.